Every single video about the Cowboys right now is just pessimism, and I don't blame anybody. But tonight, we're going to try to inject some optimism into this fan base. Let's go. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. Not this time, though, as I'm traveling, so right now I'm not live. But still, we're going to have a Cowboys conversation. And let me say this, rightfully so, but there's just a lot of pessimism right now going around Cowboys Nation. Disclaimer, rightfully so. People should be a little bit discouraged because this team is not what we thought it would be. Right now, they're favored to not make the playoffs versus actually making the playoffs. They are 3-3, and the 3 losses have essentially been blowouts. Even though the Ravens game ended a little bit closer than we thought it would, they needed a lot of luck, including an onside kick recovery. They needed a very fortunate and even questionable roughing the passer call on Dak Prescott. So there was a lot of that, if we're being real. However, I will say the Cowboys might still make the playoffs, and I'm going to list some reasons why I believe that. Now, before I do get into the optimism, though, I am going to hit you with a bucket of cold water. When I say there is reason for optimism, I'm not talking about, I'm going to show you reasons why I think the Cowboys are still contenders, or I'm not showing you why I think the Cowboys playoffs are going to be different. I'm basically arguing for them to barely get by and make the playoffs. Not talking about how they'll do there. I'm talking about making it. Because right now, I think that is the story of the Cowboys. It's not whether or not they'll overcome their playoff ghosts of the past. It's if they'll be in a position to even try to do so. That's why I think it's a conversation that we need to have. And I think we've been hit with that reality a little bit. I think that when we got to 2024, to the 2024 season, everyone was a little bit low-key, and they were not getting excited about the Cowboys being a different team in the postseason. But they did turn out to be a different team, just in a different way. They ended up being worse than we thought they were going to be. So with that in mind, let's get to it. 5 reasons to be optimistic about them boys. Let me know if you have any other in the comments. Please be a part of the show like that. Number 1 reason, a lot of people are going to hate this. A lot of people are going to hate this. But I'm going to go with Dak Prescott and CD Lamb. Listen, it has not been great so far. But I guess we can be optimistic about them getting on the same page after the bye week. Forget about the Mike McCarthy tweaking of the scheme, because I think right now that is just wishful thinking. Because, man, it's not like Mike McCarthy is going to take the real playbook and then just blow on the cover of dust. Like, that's not going to happen, right? Like, the offense is the offense, and I don't see how that is going to be fixed anytime soon. But it is true that Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb have been dominant in the NFL, and if they get on the same page, they might be those guys again. And I think when you look at some of these ball games, and when you look at, say, the 49ers, but you also look at, say, even the Commanders. Let's do the Commanders as an example. You've got 2 games against them this season, and you know they've got a defense that you could exploit. And you know you might have yourself a shootout. Now, if there's a reason why you would win that shootout, it's because of the quarterback and it's because of the wide receiver. It's not because of anything else. And we've seen them be all pros. Second-team all-pro for Dak Prescott, of course, but play at that level in the regular season, which is what we're talking about right now. If Dak and CD finally figure it out and we stop seeing all of these miscues, this offense might be good enough to win enough ball games, say 9, to make the postseason. And in a way, carry the offense into January football, right? So I think that is the number 1 reason for optimism, if I'm being real with you. I know it's not been great. I know Dak has played bad at times. I know CD has played bad at times. But that is the 2 best players in terms of a duo on the entire team, and I don't think that's up for debate. Number 2, and this relates directly to number 1, is maybe Tyler Guyton does improve. Tyler Guyton was not benched versus the Lions. He was deemed not ready to go by the team, and they decided, hey, we'll just take it easy. You'll have the bye week, and then you'll return for week 8 versus the San Francisco 49ers. That appears to be the plan. But it wasn't that they benched him, which is important here. Because now you've got a situation where you know who's going to be your left tackle, and hopefully Tyler Smith and Cooper Beebe can keep building that chemistry on the left side of the offensive line. That is important because Zach Martin right now does not look great, and that right side of the offensive line is not the dominant self that it once was, because Terrence Steele is also a problem. So if Zach Martin does not turn it around anytime soon, it's not like you can spam the right side of the offensive line in the run game. It's not like you can isolate them in pass pro and just have Steele take care of whoever he's got and help out Tyler Guyton. Now I think it is more feasible for the left side to help out the right side. But Tyler Guyton has to improve, and he has to improve fast. When you see Guyton on the field, you don't exactly see somebody who is hopeless. You see somebody who does have those flashes of impressive athleticism that we've talked about since he was drafted. The problem is you also see a lot of mistakes every game. If he can clean it up for the second half of the season, and you've got Dak and CD going, the offense is not going to be elite. It's not going to be one of the best in the league, but it might get the job done against a lot of these teams that are left on the schedule. It might be enough. But Guyton is a huge if, obviously. We're talking about reasons to be optimists. If we're doing that, then I think Guyton improving is a possibility because he's a rookie progressing every week. We know how Tyron Smith's career started. It might not happen until 2025, but if it happens in the second half of 2024, the Cowboys might look very different on offense. Now, I'm going to flip it a little bit, and I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball. A lot of the defensive woes have to do with discipline and assignments. The Cowboys are not filling the right gaps. The Cowboys are not fitting the run properly. They're making mental mistakes. Mike Zimmer keeps talking about it. He just talked about it this week. He told reporters that he took the blame for panicking a little bit versus the Lions, and he said, hey, I changed up the plan soon, very early into the game, and maybe I shouldn't have done that. That's what Zimmer said. But he added, there's just a lot of players that are not where they're supposed to be. He basically talked about doing your job and all that, which is the same story that we heard from Micah Parsons when he told reporters that some people were out there trying to be Superman. If the Cowboys tighten it up with the same personnel that they've got right now, the defense could look slightly better. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be good. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be top 15, top 10, let alone top 5. But you might look like a capable NFL team, which wasn't the case on Sunday. It wasn't the case for most of the game versus the Ravens, and it wasn't the case for the Saints game either. So if you figure out a way to be more disciplined, and I do agree with Mike Zimmer that they were improving versus the Giants, versus the Steelers, obviously the Lions are a whole different animal. The 49ers are going to be the same. But if they play more disciplined football, they should improve, at least slightly. And you might have a defense that puts you in tough spots, but that at least gives you a chance, hopefully. Even more so when we go to the number 4 reason, and that would be some of these guys are going to return, right? Micah is going to come back. Marshawn Neiland is likely going to come back. DeMarcus Lawrence, Brandon Cooks. Those absences really matter. Eric Kendricks, DeRon Bland. When this team is at least close to 100%, man, it should look better as well. Because on Sunday versus the Lions, no one was setting the edge. In the games, even versus the Saints, even versus the Ravens, where you were still losing, Micah and D-Law were setting the edge a little bit. It wasn't always great, but they were doing their jobs. Just having them back will help out. Having Bland back will be a huge difference maker because you can play more man coverage. You can do more of this, more of that. It's going to give you much more options on defense because Kalen Carson and Andrew Booth and Imani from the practice squad, they're just not great if we're being real. And they're guys that can break a game for you easily. Having Bland back, I'm not going to say he's going to be perfect after the injury, but it should look better. And the Cowboys played the patient game, at least by not playing him in Week 8, which is going to end up looking like a win if we're being honest, because the Cowboys wouldn't have won with Bland in there either. But maybe when it's everyone back, that might help you out in the second half of the season. Maybe not versus the 49ers, though, because they're not going to be all back. Anyways, reason number 5, and this is a very wishful thinking one, because the Cowboys statistically still have a very complicated schedule left. But you do have 5 NFC East games remaining in your schedule. The Commanders are scary. I'm not going to lie to you. The Eagles are never easy. The Giants, they were not easy in 2024. Their first game, it was a dogfight. But I can see them beating the Eagles. I can see them beating the Commanders. Why? Because I think the Cowboys recently, man, they've just done a great job against the Eagles secondary. Dak knows that secondary. It is changed up because they've got Big Fangio in there, but that defense has been playing quarters for a while now. Like they've been doing that stuff for a good chunk now, which is now run by Big Fangio. Now, Big Fangio particularly has been pretty good against Dak, but he's had some players. He's had some good players. Even in Miami last year, he had Jalen Ramsey. He had very good pass rushers in Bradley Chubb, Andrew Van Ginkel. If I remember correctly, he did play that game. I remember he was dealing with an injury. But anyways, now with the Vikings. Anyways, what I'm saying is you could realistically go 3-1 versus the Eagles and the Commanders. You might be thinking, well, there's no way they're beating the Commanders. There might be, and I'm going to tell you why. Their defense is still terrible. The only offense that has not looked great versus the Commanders' defense is the Deshaun Watson-led Browns offense, which was terrible once again. But anyways, what is true is that when you play the Commanders, it's going to be week 12. The Commanders are not like the Lions. They're not like the Niners. They want to run on you. They want to be physical. They want to drop back and pass. That's what they want to do. They do have a mobile QB, which the Cowboys struggle with, to be fair. But I could see Micah and D-Law breaking that game a little bit, and the Cowboys having enough pass defense to really slow them down. Because I don't think the Commanders have a great offensive line to really get that physical on you like some of these teams have done so far. Just going to say that. You could go 3-1 versus these teams. And if you do that, man, you're in the conversation to make the playoffs. You absolutely are. You got the Panthers game. You got the Bengals game. You got the Bucks. Texans, man. Texans have not looked perfect either. I'm not saying that I'm going to favor them or that I'm going to pick them when the moment comes, but I'm saying reason for optimism might be that you might steal those NFC East wins, and you might go 4-1 for the rest of the year versus the NFC East. You could also go 1-4 if we're being real. You could also lose both games to the Commanders and to the Eagles, but it's not a guarantee either way. So I think that gives you some optimism at least. Those would be my 5 reasons to be optimistic. Again, man, I'm just doing this exercise. However, I will say, I think fans in the media are right to be worried about this team because, as we discussed yesterday, they might have to be sellers at the trade deadline. But we'll see how they respond in week 8, when they take on the San Francisco 49ers after the bye week. And until then, we'll talk on Sunday. We'll talk on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I'll see you very soon. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. And hit the like button for me if you enjoyed the show. Subscribe for more Cowboys coverage. Bye-bye.